Episode 13, American Hammers TV, joined by Lee as always. My name's Tim, and we're sponsored by Strava Craft Coffee, the coffee that Tim drinks every single episode. So there's a link in the description below. Feel free to treat yourself, and first-time buyers get 15% off. They have all sorts of coffee, which is really cool, anywhere from $15 all the way up to like $50 a pound. So enjoy. Anyway, a lot of news going on. We'll get into that in just a minute, but I want to talk about our guest who's going to join us a little bit later tonight. At about 9:30ish, we're going to have John from Las Vegas join us. He's heavy on Twitter. That's where we met him, and he would like to grow the Las Vegas Hammers out there. It's just for whatever reason doesn't seem like there's a lot out there, but we believe that there's a lot more Hammers out there than BCI. So anyway, we're going to talk to him a little bit later. He's got some stuff to talk about, some cool stories and some things to show us. But in the meantime, we're just gonna, Lee and I are gonna tap into some news topics. So Lee, what do you got for us tonight, man?
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. I've been on Twitter a little bit here in the last hour or so. I've been on Twitter. I was on Twitter earlier today. I think we should start with the most ridiculous, quote unquote, news story of the day. This is Declan Rice when he was 15 years old, posting something on Twitter that supposedly supported the IRA. Did you see this?
I did.
Listen, if social media had existed when I was 15. Oh man, I can't even imagine. I mean, the things I said and did were so stupid, even dumber than what I do now. The bandwagons I jumped on, the things I thought I believed in. I'm sure Declan Rice was a goofy 15-year-old goofing around on social media like everybody else. He shouldn't have to say anything about these ridiculous posts. He came out and apologized because he's he's trying to be a decent guy and keep his public image up, but it's just ridiculous to me how the British press goes after their own. They've always done this. They've always tried to destroy their own, and it's especially bad in England. So I say solidarity with Declan Rice. I feel quite confident that he's not going to commit any terrorist attacks, and I don't think he should have to feel bad for being a goofball on social media when he was 15 years old. I don't know.
Correct. I mean, 5 years. 5 years is a long time. I mean, think about it, especially for a 20-year-old. We're talking
right. That's what I mean.
Between 15 and 20 is a massive maturity period.
Oh,
and or not, or lack thereof. But anyway, like you said, 15 years old. Me as well. Social media wasn't really what it is, not even close to what it is. Back in for me, it was 1995. I mean, that's pretty much the beginning of the internet, what it seems. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, I probably got myself in a lot of trouble as well. But the point is, he did apologize. That is the right thing to do. Whether he means it or not doesn't really matter. But I believe that he means it because, like you said, it was stupid. It definitely was a stupid thing to say for anybody. But he was 15. Man.
It was 15. A stupid thing to say. Yeah, but I will forgive 15-year-olds for doing a lot of stupid things. I mean, I was 15, and I'd have to think about it. I'm going to say I was 15 in 1989. So. No internet back then, no social media. A good thing because, man, I mean, I can't even imagine the stuff I wrote on my book covers at school. I can't even imagine what I was saying. So I think it's a total non-issue, and the only reason I mention it is because I feel obligated to mention it because it's a tiny bit of West Ham news, and because we don't have a match this weekend, so there's not that much to talk about. The other thing,
but that is what's up there. Yeah, go ahead.
The other thing is the British press have now linked Felipe Anderson with Real Madrid, which guarantees it will never happen because once a player is linked with somebody in the British press, it never happens. But as great as Felipe Anderson is, as much as I like him, I have an extremely hard time believing Real would take somebody who is as relatively inexperienced and inconsistent as he is. He's been very good for us at times. At other times, in fact, maybe the last month or so, he's looked a little tired. He's looked a little worn out. Hasn't been at his best. I do love him. I'm glad he's with the club. I have I'm not anti Felipe Anderson in any way. I just think he could use a rest, and now he's going off to train with Brazil, possibly play for Brazil. So I don't think it's going to help him much. Real Madrid took Julien Faubert on loan, so I guess anything could happen. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember I had a friend at the time who was a huge Real supporter, and I said, "You can't be serious. You're taking this. This guy is just a mediocre player, right? He wasn't that bad, but he's just a mediocre player." And he says, "Oh, my friend says, oh no, West Ham aren't getting everything out of him, and he's better than he seemed. And if he were in a better team, he'd be better." And I was like, "All right, fine." Well, we saw where that went. Faubert fell asleep on the bench.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I don't think he played more than maybe 20 minutes. Now
the thing about him was that he could play multiple positions, up and down the wing, which is attractive. And
right.
And I would say, I don't know, if he actually got on the pitch with those better players, maybe he would do okay. But I don't think he's a Felipe Anderson by any means. But my thing with Felipe is that I think La Liga suits him. I don't think not to say West Ham doesn't suit him. I mean, what we need, like I've said before, is that we need more elite players to be around him. I mean, you have a class of three. Yeah. I mean, if you have three players at a class and you have the rest of the team that are good, it's not going to mesh well. But anyway, Real Madrid would definitely suit him, and La Liga would suit him too. I would not sell him though. He's not ready yet. He's just getting accustomed to, like you said, he's extremely tired right now. And he needs to get used to that. He will get used to that in the Premier League. It's a tough physical league, physically demanding, the most in the world. And I believe that his best years are ahead of him with us. This international period where he gets selected to play for Brazil, that's definitely going to boost his confidence. And when he comes back, I think he's going to have hopefully a fresh pair of legs, unless he gets injured over there. But no, I think that's great. But here's the thing: it's only if they can't sign Hazard. I mean, I think that Chelsea's more apt to sell Hazard than we are to sell Anderson, who's pretty much the best player on paper.
Yep, I agree. You're right about La Liga suiting his game. Actually, I mean that is true. And I'll say this too: if Real come for him, he's going to go, because I mean no player would turn that down. I mean, listen, I let's be realistic about this. I mean, if Zinedine Zidane and Real Madrid, one of the great players and now one of the great managers of all time, and arguably the biggest club in the history of the world, arguably, if they come for him and they offer the right price, which, by the way, should be like £75 million, I mean, why not, right? Because if they need him, we should get our money for him. He's going to go, and he probably should. But I hope he doesn't, because I love him at West Ham. I think he's got a great future with us. He's been selected for Brazil playing with us, which means he doesn't have to go someplace bigger to get that selection. He doesn't have to go in order to advance his career. He doesn't have to do that. I think if he sticks around and we can put some investment into the club, and we can move forward, I think he'll be in European football soon enough. And I feel as though he's going to get more games with us. Real play a lot of fixtures. Obviously, they need a lot of cover because they're always in every competition. But I still feel as though he's going to get a lot more games with us, a lot more chance to impress. The Brazilian Football Association and all the the selection, the people there who are making the selections. I really obviously hope he stays. I hope there's nothing to this rumor, and there may be nothing to it at all. Because a lot of these rumors are just rumors. Hope there's nothing to it, and we can just forget about it by next week. But if Real come, all we can do is replenish the transfer kitty and wish him luck, because he's going to go and he should go. But again, I hope there's nothing to it. That's all. So,
but that's just. But remember when Tottenham sold Bale? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They had all that they had all that money, and they went and they fucking wasted it. I could see us doing something like that. You know what I mean? Well, I can see us not spending it wisely. Just think about putting money into our board's hands. All that money. Are we going to see it all?
This worries me a lot, because first of all, we have a history of wasting money. Now, there was a previous board, obviously, but everybody remembers we sold Rio Ferdinand and then built a stand on the stadium, which we don't use anymore. But so that was obviously previous leadership. But The other thing that I wanted to bring in is I just saw this in passing, and I haven't really looked at it very closely, but evidently we're back in massive debt again after our spending over the summer. And, the talk, of course, the rumor is, and somebody said that David Gold mentioned this in an interview. I haven't seen a primary source on that, but that we only have 25 million pounds for the summer transfer kitty. Of course, we're going to have to unload some players with big salaries, and that'll hopefully free up some cash as well. But apparently the debt situation has gotten back to being really bad. I thought we were almost out of debt or that we had it under control. I don't really understand how we've got, we're building on like 7 years now back in the Premier League after, we came back up in 2012. I don't understand how we have all this Premier League money. We have a gigantic stadium. We have all these revenues. I mean, we have to be making considerably more money as a club than we did, in the days of the Boleyn. How is the debt? I don't understand how these guys run the business, but then, I'm not an executive. I'm not a financial executive.
Like not 50,000. I mean, sorry, 60,000. But just think 50,000 people. 50,000 West Ham fans in that in that stadium, and how much money the average ticket is.
Right.
How much money they make each match. I mean,
again, it goes up every. It goes up.
That's just tickets.
Yeah, I mean, so we're
not concessions.
So this is where I'm not a financial, I'm not an economist, I'm not a financial executive, but we have, they sold us, and more people who actually live in England go to the matches than us, but they sold the West Ham fan base, if you will, on a new stadium so that we could have the money to buy world-class players, to break into the top six, to be a contender for Europe consistently. On the world-class player front, as you said, we have maybe 2 or 3 at a stretch. I think Declan Rice, who kind of was, fell into our laps. He was already there. I think you could throw Felipe Anderson in there. I
say Nasri, dude. I don't know. I understand a fit, fully fit Nasri is a world-class player.
Nasri's a world-class, and I agree. I love Nasri. I think he's great.
And Lanzini. So Anderson, Lanzini, and yeah.
Right. Lanzini, obviously. But even Nasri, again, a guy coming off a drug suspension, just falls into our lap, So yeah, we have some, but we're not really strong. We're not serious contenders for Europe at this point. I mean, and even if we were to finish 7th or whatever, we'd still have to go to, Moldova at the end of July and play a qualifier, and it's not what we expected. And now apparently we're in massive debt again, and we have no money to spend on players. I don't understand how that happens. I thought everything was supposed to be okay and cool and solved once we got into the new stadium. We were settled, and we had the Premier League. We were settled the Premier League with the TV contracts, and so I don't know how that works with the club financially, but it's frustrating.
I don't either, because I don't know if it's a tax issue thing, because we don't understand their tax system over there. I mean, we don't.
No, we don't. I mean, we don't.
I just know that they take out a lot more in different areas, or they tax everything. You know what I mean?
They have different types. I mean, they have different types of taxes. I work for a software company that does tax compliant software. So I know a little bit about it, but not much about I know more about indirect taxes like value added tax, which is a different thing. As far as the income taxes, the business taxes, I don't know how that works.
That could be something, but I swear I thought they were not in debt.
I thought the debt was under control at the very least, and now I'm reading.
Once removed, I thought, yeah.
Right, it's back up to like 40-50 million pounds because we spent over the summer. Okay, I just don't know how that happens. I thought we had to move out of the Boleyn so that we could resolve our financial situation.
Yeah.
Really, that hasn't happened. There you go. So now we're in a situation where a 25 million pound transfer kitty doesn't even buy half a world class player these days. It doesn't even buy that many national class players.
No, I mean, unless we get lucky and catch one on a free again.
Right. Exactly.
But here's the thing: he might not be world class, but he's definitely class above a lot of the players that we have on the pitch, and that's Antonio Valencia that we're linked with. I mean, he plays at a level above a Snodgrass, above a Antonio, because he's been there, done that with the biggest clubs and internationally as well. And I feel that that could be one that might be a steal, depending on the price. They've floated out a bunch of different numbers out there, but it's not. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, if we had him, I mean, that would be, you know,
I would
one extra.
Yeah.
Prospect.
I would be excited to get him. I'm checking the table here. I don't know if I can find it to see whether Celta are going down in Spain because I still
it's a 22 million euro or 22 million pounds buyout if they get relegated. I know it's not 40 something, but I mean,
right.
It's still that's the majority of our kidding.
Well,
obviously they're going to sell players and stuff like that. Yeah, I get that.
But that's what I'm saying. I would still love to get Maxi Gomez as opposed to Mitrovic. I think he's a better player, but I mean, who knows? It's not as though I've watched either one of them extensively, so I'm not going to pretend to be a scout.
I'd take them both, man. I would. You're right. I would rather have Maxi Gomez than have friggin' Mitrovic.
But I would take them both too if we could get them. Fulham are definitely going down. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So there'll probably be a fire sale there. So I guess we have to want to go down as well.
There's other teams going down, man. It's like So as the table stands, I mean, there's been a lot of games in hand because of the damn cups and everything else. But let's see, the bottom three right now. Yeah, Cardiff's still at the bottom. But I mean, Burnley's got a couple strikers, man. Southampton, I mean, they're right down there too. Because both Southampton and Burnley are 2 points above Cardiff. So anything can happen with
absolutely
7 or 8 games left or 8 or 9 games left. So Danny Ings, dude, I'd take him in a heartbeat over anybody that we got right now.
Yeah,
we're not Chicharito, obviously, but
not Chicharito, but
he can stay.
Well, that's the other thing is, I think Chicharito's a good player for us if he has somebody up front with him.
100%.
I don't know if that's Pellegrini's system, and I think the issue we have right now is that we kind of have a crowded midfield, and we just need. We need a striker to play up front with Chicharito, and Arnautovic is not that guy for a lot of reasons. So it's easier said than done. Just so go out. Well, that's hard to do. Hardest position to fill.
A lot of people are not going to agree with me, but we need to get over the fact that Noble is Mr. West Ham, and he's like a club legend. We need to get over that fact and realize that there's a lot better players out there than him. He is a great captain, extremely loyal. Yes, he can kick a penalty.
Yep. A lot of guys can take penalties. All right. I mean, the rate of penalties scored is extremely high. Listen,
I love them. Hold on. I love Noble. I love him 100%. I want him to be in the club 100% like that. I'm just saying there definitely are better players out there. And, there's better players in some of the teams that are struggling as well that we could probably get. Not saying.
We have better players in our squad right now. We have better, no, we do. I'm sorry, but I mean, if you look at the guys we can put in the midfield, I mean, obviously you want Declan Rice out there. He plays a role very similar to what Noble plays as a holding midfielder. He's better. He's younger. He's faster. I think we have to get Nasri back into the lineup. We want Lanzini out there. And then you talk about having Anderson on the wing. You talk about maybe having somebody like Antonio on the other side or Snodgrass. I mean, Mark Noble, to me, to a great extent, gets pushed out. I love his effort. I love his background, being an East London guy, an academy guy, a local guy. I think that's fantastic.
100%. I'd never get rid of him. I'm just saying.
No, I wouldn't get rid of him. No, nobody's going to buy him anyway. But he's been around.
Yeah, plays get older.
Love for him to stay with the club, move into like a mentor type role, where maybe he plays as cover and he sort of mentors other players, and he takes that captain role that I think he plays really well, and he kind of brings it off the pitch and into the changing room, and influences guys less during matches and more sort of at all other times. But there are better players. I'm sorry. There are better players. There are better players in our squad right now. There are better players available. And yeah, I think we have to move on past it. He was at his testimonial. It was fantastic. It was at the Berlin. Everybody was happy. He's been around for a really long time. It's getting to be time to, push him into more of a backup type role and see how he can be more of an ambassador for the club or a mentor for younger players, because there are times when he feels like a little bit of a liability. Sorry, he does.
I agree
for saying that, but that's where I am, and I think we're on the same page.
Yeah, exactly. We got some guys in the chat room, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. What are they saying? Are they?
We got we got Wayne, obviously, and Wally World as always, and Gabe DeLeon is always there, and the other guy, Doug Irons. They're saying, what, no mention of Jack Wheelchair?
You have to keep reminding me that he's even still under contract with us. Yeah, sure. I mean, there's another guy who, when he comes back, is a better player than Noble. different type of player, I think. But
look, in a perfect world, yeah, absolutely. He talent-wise, you're right. He is a class above. He's another one of those guys that, he's 100% healthy, which is just not going to happen, right? I mean, he's definitely a class above. And that comes from, all his years at Arsenal, and playing around, world-class players on a regular basis and training with world-class players and playing with England and everything else. And unfortunately, he's just not going to stay healthy.
Well, let's not forget.
Yeah. Hold on.
Oh, go
Carlos Sanchez. Yeah, someone just mentioned in the room. It's Carlos Sanchez, too.
The last memory I have of him is him getting caught in possession against Wolves and giving up the game-losing goal home to Wolves. But he's definitely got potential. He's an international. What is he? Colombian, I think. Anyway, he's a major, international with a major country. And we've got what's his name out on loan to Fiorentina, Fernandez, another guy. Edmilson Fernandez, whatever his name.
Did you hear that? It could be, again, the British media, but they were saying that West Ham has asked Fiorentina to go ahead and buy him out.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. And a lot of people seem
that's bullshit.
I think it is.
I would keep him.
I'm not sure I really get that either.
I would love him on the team.
I thought he was good for us when he was with us. He seems to have gotten along fairly well in Serie A. I mean, I don't know why. I don't know what we're not seeing in him. I don't feel as though our team is so crowded with good players that he doesn't fit in. I mean, it's I don't know. I'm not a scout, but I mean, the point is we have in our system, if you want to put it that way, both in our squad and on loan, we have players who are capable of playing. We're capable midfielders. Sorry, capable attacking midfielders. Yeah, I mean, I think it's time to start moving on from Noble. Sanchez is kind of a mystery to me. I mean, I was excited when we signed him. Been injured for a while. I don't know what to make of him, honestly. But I mean, sure, we've got him under contract. He's an international. He should be in the mix. That's about all I can say about that because I can't really remember the last time he played. Am I missing something? He's still injured, right? I'm not crazy, right? Sanchez.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it's end of the season type of deal, isn't it?
I think it is too. Oh yeah, I think it is too. And let's not forget, get more on the wing, but we got Yarmolenko coming back at some point too. So yeah,
that's a class above. Yeah, that's another class player. Yeah, we did some good shopping. It's just unfortunately it didn't work out injury wise.
I think we got John on.
Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you. We can see you.
Very good. Very good.
Right, huh?
Hang on. You have to excuse me. I've just got in from work, and there's a very, very important thing I have to do when I get home, and that's do this.
Yes.
So we have a special guest tonight, all the way from Las Vegas, Uncle Jack and Cousin Coke.
Yes, sir. I had a professor in college who used to talk about his long chats with his old buddy Johnny Walker.
Okay. So cheers to you, West Ham America.
I have no beverage, but cheers.
Oh, it's a wonderful Southern Nevada evening. Can you see me okay? I'm in shot and everything else.
You look great.
Very good. We can hear you too. Yeah, that's good.
Thank you, sir.
Beautiful.
Thank you. So I got my Legends t-shirt on. So
yeah, you got beautiful
nice.
stuff in the background. You're looking good.
So this is where I live, basically. This is Henderson, Nevada. This is my yard here. So when it gets dark, that way's the strip over there. So you see the mountains.
Oh, wow,
So when it gets dark, you see the Luxor beam go there.
Really?
So that's into the night sky. That's the thing you see when you're. I live in kind of like I don't know how to describe it, like a Lego set neighborhood, and the only real thing that you know about that you live in the craziness of Las Vegas is when you look in the night sky and look west, you see the Luxor beam. So
That's awesome.
anyway,
Yeah.
enough about that. What are we talking about?
Oh boy.
Anything you
What
want. Anything you want. We were just going over how the club could possibly be debt-ridden and skint again, despite the stadium. We were going over. You know what? Tilt your camera up a little bit. I can only see you from like the nose down.
Hang on. Hold on. Let's see. Let's see if I can do that. Is that better?
Oh, that's better. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everyone needs my full forehead.
You absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, no, we were going over all kinds of stuff, but honestly, I'd rather hear about you and what you have going out there and what your story is. So you are not a native of Las Vegas.
No, I'm not. Not many people are.
Right.
Now, my. Do you want my American West Ham story or just my West Ham story?
Oh, why not both? Give us both.
Well, okay. My family have been going to West Ham since there's been a West Ham. We're from a place called Canning Town.
Yep.
Now, just so there's a little bit of East London geography, Canning Town is kind of if Stratford's the armpit, Green Street is the nostril, Canning Town is the arsehole of East London. That's basically the geographical. And East Ham is kind of like the shit on the shoes. So, my family from a place called Canning Town, which just as when you come out of the old bowling ground or Upton Park, as we used to call it, you take a right and go down Barking Road. You continue for about 10 minutes. You go through Plaistow, and if you're in proper East London, you would say, right, you go past the Green Gate, past the castle, past the Abbey Arms until you get to the Royal Oak. So that's the 4 pubs that you pass on the bus down to Canning Town. And our old family house was on a place called Liverpool Road. It's no longer there anymore. And it was, I think my cousin measured it once. It was 212 yards from where West Ham United was formed.
Wow, that's amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, so we've been West Ham supporters since there's been a West Ham. To my knowledge, no one worked in the Thames Iron Works, so we don't go back that far.
Right.
But I'm kind of an East London West Ham historian, and I've tried to trace it back. And the trail stops cold at around 1905.
That's pretty early, though. I mean,
yeah. It's a long time. It was like even before they even went to Green Street, up to the bowling ground. Right. So I've been a season ticket holder from about 81 to 2003 when I moved to New York, and I got transferred to New York. I was a North Banker, then Bobby Moore Lower season ticket holder. That was where I stood, and it was the first barrier behind the goal. So anytime I see any old footage, I know I'm in there somewhere. And
that's fantastic.
So it's kind of funny, and all the old pitch invasions that used to happen at the end of the season, there's little old me in there somewhere. But I moved to New York. I got transferred to New York. Advertising's my line of work, and I got transferred to New York in 2003, and it was a weird sort of thing to be there because I was like, right, okay, now I'm just going to go and work. It's a good opportunity. I'm going to be busy 7 days a week. I was 27, no, not married, and it was a good time to go. And then all of a sudden, someone said, oh, there's a group of guys that watch West Ham games on Saturday morning if they're on TV. I was like, oh, all right. So we ended up, it was a game on Saturday morning, and it was a later game. So it worked out about 8 o'clock New York time. And it was West Ham v Sunderland, I think, if my memory serves it correctly. So I walk up outside the pub, which was the Red Lion on Bleecker Street. Was a guy called Jim who got mentioned when the New York guy was on last week. There was a Russian dude called Paul. There was another Russian dude who was a limo driver, and his Empire State license plate was West Ham. It was back then it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. Actually, still is one of my top 5 coolest things I've ever seen. There was a few other dudes, and there was this old guy called Norwegian Ken, and there was 6 of us, and we sat watching the game. I'm still in contact with all these guys. But then there was a second sort of group that Sean headed up on 2nd Avenue. Now, I lived in Brooklyn, so it was a pain in the ass to get from there, Brooklyn, to there. It was easy to get the F train into Lower Manhattan, for anyone who knows New York.
I lived in Brooklyn for about a year after college.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I was on Smith Street, Carroll Gardens. So
Oh, yeah.
Subway in, all good.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm there for a year and a bit, and then I ended up going back to London, and then I spent years in Dublin working for the same company. But I kept in touch with the New York guys, and then I got this opportunity out here in 2013. And in a way, it was kind of, I'd had a season ticket when I'd been back in England, and when I was in Ireland, I'd flew back a couple of times a year to watch the games and everything else. I still got a massive crew of friends who go, so getting tickets is never really a problem. So I had the FA Cup final in between when I'd just come back from New York and all the rest of it. I'll tell you about my bad luck streak with finals in a minute. But so I ended up here, and it was kind of weird because, again, I thought to myself, you know what, I might be able to leave the obsession of going to West Ham every week behind me and move on and not be miserable and not let it control me.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, I get a tap on the shoulder. I'm at the bar at the MGM Grand the night I move out there, and I've got, just by habit, I have a West Ham T-shirt on, and this dude says, "Oh, are you looking forward to the new NBC sports deal?" I'm like, "What's that?" "Every Premier League game live." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So he goes to me, "Yeah, go to the sports book." So I go to the MGM Grand sports book at 7 a.m. after the buffet, and there was 10 different screens with 10 different games on it. And I cannot describe to you the soccer utopia that is provided. And there was Southampton fans one end. There was me on my own watching the West Ham games. What was happening was, it was like NFL Sunday. Something would happen, and everyone would rush over to the one screen to see what would happen. And then all these fans would be like, there was Newcastle fans and Southampton fans getting into it with each other. And it was kind of funny. It was hilarious. Cocktail waitress coming around with a drink. She couldn't believe her luck that it was busy at that time of the morning. And so I thought to myself, well, I'm here. Someone knew that I was in Vegas, someone I knew, and he said, "Oh, where's the best place to watch games?" So I thought, well, I'll just start this Twitter feed. And I think I get about, on average, during the season, about 5 or 6 pings a month from West Ham supporters going where to watch the games. Now, I'm not a group. I kind of am a gift, if you like, rather than a group. I say that if you come to Las Vegas to watch, and you watch West Ham here, you are a lifelong honorary member of the Las Vegas Hammers.
Nice.
So that's me. But I have a place on the Strip that I'm friendly with a couple of guys that work there. It's called Re-Ras in the Mandalay Bay. They always have the games on with the commentary. If you're a West Ham supporter, they will prioritise the game.
Nice.
If there's West Ham supporters in there. I usually go there if we have a midweek game because I can pass it off as a lunch break. But yeah, proper fish and chips, proper bartenders, Irish guys behind the bar. The guy runs it's a Leicester supporter, and they don't rip you off for beer prices, which is unreal being on the Strip. So if you're on the Strip, you don't want to go off the Strip. So I always recommend that people go to Re-Ras. And so if I go out to watch the game, that's where I go. But I'm kind of lazy, so I like to wake up and drink my coffee and let the kids fight over the iPad while I try and watch the game. So, but that's me. That's how I ended up here. So I've been here like 7 years. Met some fantastic people that have come in. Because I'm friendly with my work. Sort of sends me to the Strip. So if anyone comes in and they message me, I always say, "Oh, look, what are you doing in Vegas?" And people say, "Oh, we want to do a helicopter ride." So, you know, I can help out on the cheapies and stuff. So I've made some pretty good friends, you know, and people always sort of like comment and stuff like that. And it's weird how it's grown from like 1 follower to I've got nearly 2,000 followers. But people think I live this crazy kind of Las Vegas lifestyle, but this is about as exciting as it gets on a Thursday night, you know. So, but that's me. So, you know, it's I've had two kind of stints in America with the West Ham thing, and both have been very successful. And I hadn't seen Jim, one of the oldest New York Hammers, since I'd actually moved back. So it was nearly odd 10 years, and he reached out to me. He was at a conference out here, which a lot of people do come to Vegas for, and met up with a beer with him. And it was just like, I hadn't seen him for a week or so. It was really cool to have those kind of, and I think that's a lot of about West Ham is that you make friends for life, and it's sort of, it's very hard to disagree because there's not much to agree on about West Ham. It's one thing or it's not, you know. So it's but yeah, that's me. So here I am, and yeah, I haven't been home for quite a while. 6 years I haven't been home for, and the one weekend I was home, it was for my brother's wedding. Somehow this happened that the one weekend I was going home, it was an international break.
Oh.
And I hadn't been to the Olympic Stadium.
Oh.
And so that was my one shot. I've got 3 young children, so I'm not really up for traveling.
Yep.
I'm just busy with work all the time, so I haven't had a chance to get back. I'm trying to rectify that next year, but yeah, I've not been to the new stadium yet. So yeah, I'm still the last time I saw West Ham was in Seattle.
Okay. Yeah.
So you did go to that. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was I ended up sitting in the crow's nest with all
the little triangle up in the top there.
Yeah, with all the Sounders fans. It was kind of bizarre, and people I had my West Ham shirt on. Random people wanted to come up and talk to me about, you know, am I English? Yeah. Oh, great. We'll sit and talk to you. And just people just wanted to talk about soccer. It's bizarre to me, you know, but.
I love Seattle, actually, and I think Seattle has great sports fans, underrated sports fans.
Yeah,
the Sounders have great fans. They pack well. They get a lot of fans in that stadium. There is so much to unpack with you because you sent us a picture on Twitter. You sent us a private message of you at the FA Cup final.
Correct. Yep.
You're there. Scott, I want to talk about that, although not too much, because it's still
there's the ticket.
There it is. Yeah.
Nice.
So before we get, because I want to talk about all that stuff too. So when you go, how often would you say you actually go to the pub, to the bar there in Mandalay Bay and watch the games?
Anytime's a midweek game. I absolutely love those Friday games.
Yeah.
As a traditionalist, 3:00 Saturday afternoon was optimum for my drinking.
Right.
Because it was a noon start via the Pie and Mash shop. Drink about 5 to 6 pints, maybe a couple of jacks if it was a Tottenham or a Chelsea and you needed the extra aggression. Go to the game, go to the boozer afterwards, and then the pub, and then you're getting my inner East London coming out now. I think it's something to do with this scarf. And so
we're as long as you don't use too much rhyming slang, I think we'll keep
No. But then the Friday night games are perfect because I can go. Everything's quiet on a Friday afternoon, so I can actually kind of sneak out and go to the. So if it's noon, I can have a fish and chips, have a couple of pints, and it's actually the closest I'll get to actually being there. And it's so I'd say I'll get to the pub if someone's out that's an old mate of mine. Believe it or not, I get out more for the 4:30 a.m. games than I do the 7 a.m. games.
Interesting.
Because I can get up at 4, get to the strip, watch the game, have breakfast at half time, and then get home by the time the kids are up.
That's fantastic. And you don't have a problem being in Vegas. Everything's open. You don't have to find a pub that opens at 4:30 because it never closes.
No, and believe it or not, the American bars out here are glad to have the Premier League because it's. I mean, going back to like the first ever time we was on TV out here in the MGM Grand in August 2013, that cocktail waitress told me that there was basically people sleeping in the sports book and repeats of some college crap that was on the day before. No, not college crap, but you know what I mean. Just repeats from the ESPN Sports Center, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I can't say college crap to you guys, but anyway.
You can say it.
So, but
Yeah,
it's just irrelevant highlights. There's no live sport. There's no one there. And she was like, she can't believe it. I went back to the MGM Grand a few or four times before I found my feet out here as a resident to like where to hang out and all the rest of it. This cocktail waitress said they were now fighting over that shift because it was one of the most lucrative shifts of the week because you were guaranteed 50 British people there drinking. And she said, like, they all tipped, they all just paid cash, and they just slang the beer back just like 6:37 in the morning to at least middle of the morning. And she said she was making more tips first thing in the morning than she was at any other time of the week because of the English showing up and drinking during the games. So, yeah, so it's kind of like everyone's really embraced it. Betting wise, not so much because they handicap it's like betting on the NFL where they do, you know what, you take the Jets, you take the Patriots -7. They'll offer West Ham -2.
Right. They do the point spread with football?
Yeah, and that's what they started. Then they started doing money line,
right?
But they don't do the money line with the draw unless you ask for it. So, I mean, soccer's always been a two-horse race with 3 outcomes, but it's they don't. They haven't really embraced the betting out here on the game, and I think it's because they're not that knowledgeable on it. I mean, I've hit them a couple of times out here. Namely when Italy played England in the Brazil World Cup, and England were favourites against a team they'd never beaten in competitive competition. So all I did was bet on Italy, and it was the easiest money you'd ever make. It was a statistically easy bet. So, that side of life hasn't really taken off for the Vegas thing. I mean, but, in terms of them making revenue out of people sitting in bars watching the games, I mean, the average American will probably chow down like 4 or 5 beers during an NFL game of 3 to 4 hours. The average English guy is going to chow down 6 or 7 during a 90-minute period and then think, right, I'm drinking now and continue to drink.
Well,
so,
especially if this team loses, right? Then you drink even more.
Yeah, man, I drink. I think if I'd supported Arsenal or Liverpool or Manchester United or something like that, I think I would consume probably about 1/10 of the alcohol I've ever consumed over my life.
Right.
Because if West Ham won, you've got nothing to be angry about. You're like, all right, fair enough. And some of my biggest drinking sessions around West Ham have been after heavy defeats, and they've been the best nights out, in all honesty. So,
So when you watch now, are you usually watching with like tourists who are West Ham fans, people who are just like in Vegas coming through?
Yeah.
Or,
to my knowledge, I'm the only West Ham supporter that I've met that lives here.
Right.
This statement was correct up to about a week ago when I got in an Uber from my local casino. That's about 20 minutes away. We have locals casinos here and we have tourist casinos here. I mean, the locals casino is $4 a beer. So I tend to go to, because that's where all the movie theatres are and all the rest of it. So I'd gone over to watch a film, and I had a few beers afterwards, obviously. So I didn't want to walk home, obviously. And so I got an Uber. And the guy goes to me, "Where are you from?" I thought he was Australian, right? So, and I said to him, "Are you Australian?" He went, "No, I'm English." He said, "Are you Australian?" I said, "No, I'm English." And he said, "All right, okay. Where are you from?" I said, "Well, originally Canning Town." And he went, "Oh, God." I said, "I won't piss you off." So I was like, "All right, where are you from?" He said, "Wembley." I said, "I'm a Tottenham supporter."
Oh, no.
I was like, "Really?" And he goes, "I'm West Ham." And he was like, "Oh, wow." So it was like yakking away. It's about a 5-minute drive. And he said, "Do you know Big Billy?" And I'm like, "No." And he went, "Big Billy's a West Ham supporter. He's been out here 40 years. And I was like, "Oh." He said, "He drinks at the Crown and Anchor." Now, Crown and Anchor is like an English pub on Tropicana just off the strip. And there's kind of this subculture of English people that drink in there. And it's strange. It's not my scene at all. And I've gone in there at the odd time. It's a smoky bar. I don't like that. And they serve really weird English style food, which really isn't English style food. And the woman who owns it's from Sheffield, and there's miserable sin. So there's no real point in going there. So, but this is where they all drink. So he goes, "Oh, you got to come down to Crown and Anchor." I'm like, "Oh no, I don't." But so, but to my knowledge, there is another West Ham supporter out here who's been out here 40 years, and he ran a pool business, and there's a guy out here, and I know 10 Tottenham supporters that from London here, but no, I've never met a West Ham supporter. And this one dude who cleans pools, he's got 3 lions like the England football crest on the side of his van, and he cleans the pool. I've got 3 kids, so I don't want a pool. So that's the worst thing you can have, in my opinion. And plus, your house price is 40 grand more. So the lady across the street, a Brazilian lady, she has a pool. So this dude comes around. I've been waiting 6 years to see who this guy is, because there's a little cockerel on the side of the van. So I'm thinking, this guy's a Tottenham supporter. And he's always sending he's got a couple of Mexican dudes who work for him. So I've never actually seen him. And then one time I saw this big marauding white guy, tattooed and all the rest of it. I thought, yeah, well, he's got to be English. So I went and got a West Ham carrier bag that my mum had sent some stuff out for the kids, and I put it on the radio aerial, and then went back across to my house. He came out. He was fuming. He looked at it, and he was just like, and he looked around as if someone had basically was trying to shoot like a sniper. And so I went out and said, "All right, mate." And it turned out he was from Essex, from Romford, and he said, "By rights, I should be one of you, but I'm not. I'm one of the others." And I met out of him for a couple of pints afterwards. He's a good guy. It means you have to talk about Tottenham for a lot of the time, but you know, you got to talk about something, so it's all good. But
that's fantastic. That's funny. I mean, there for some reason there are a fair number of Tottenham supporters in Boston too. I don't know why, but it's their business. So now you mentioned to earlier when we were going back and forth on Twitter, you had some. You could take us through some stuff like through your history with West Ham. You were at the FA Cup final.
Yep.
You were a season ticket holder back in the days when there was proper atmosphere back in the 80s. Back when, you know, you kind of had to watch yourself and
a little bit, yeah.
Pitch invasions and all. So next time I see the clip of the pitch invasion from what was it, 91 when West Ham came back up?
Yeah. I was up the other end.
Oh, okay. That was against Cambridge, I think.
Yeah. That was the footage of Julian Dix and Clive Allen. That's the old South Bank.
Okay.
And, I was a North Bank. I was up the other end.
Okay.
So where the South Bank was where the old Bobby Moore stand was. So the North Bank was where the Trevor Brookings stand was.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. I did go to the Bowline years ago, so I matched there. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe just since most American fans have only been around the club for 5-10 years at most. I don't know. Give us some stories. Give us some of your best experiences, your worst experiences.
Well, what used to happen? I mean, I've got like 3 kind of West Ham careers, if you like. Because one was a child, one was the child one's the best one. One as a sort of teenager into my 20s, which was a bit of an alcoholic blur, and then as an adult where I just kind of watch it like this. And then so when I was a child, I've got some things to show you guys actually. So, and it goes back. My family, as I said earlier, my family have been going to West Ham since it's been a West Ham, and I've got some original programs here from the Cup finals. So this one here, and I've got a trivia question for you guys, and there will be a prize if anyone can get it.
Okay.
Right.
Look it up on the phone. I got the phone.
Yeah. So this here is a program from the 1965 Cup Winners' Cup final between West Ham and 1860 Munich at Wembley Stadium. We got here because we won the 64 Cup final.
Right.
So the team lineup back then was the great Bobby Moore, Jeff Hurst, Martin Peters, that kind of iconic, I remember when it was great kind of thing. So this is well before my time. This was West Ham against Fulham in the FA Cup final in 1975. This is the first time Billy Bonds lifted the FA Cup. These are originals. These are like passed down to me from my family.
Bobby Moore was playing for Fulham at the time.
Correct. That's right.
Yeah.
Now this should be my crowning glory. This should have been my first ever West Ham game.
Oh,
this is 1980
Yep.
West Ham v Arsenal. Trevor Brooking back header.
Yep.
Now I was 4 at the time and deemed too small to go.
Oh no.
So we ended up winning.
Yes.
So let's fast forward to the playoff final in against Crystal Palace, Cardiff. I'm a season ticket holder. I get a ticket. I go. We lose. I'm in New York for the Preston North End playoff final. Organise a massive drink up at the Red Lion. There's about 200 people there. I almost get Michael Carrick to come round from the England Hotel round the corner, but he was playing for Tottenham at the time and he wouldn't come. But he cheersed me and told me he wanted West Ham to win. That's another story. So, and we win that one. I come home where we get relegated. We're in the FA Cup final in 2006. I get a ticket. I go. We lose. So when we get to Blackpool,
the worst possible way.
Yeah, and it's because if I was there, that's why I was there. And so basically, what happened was I was a season ticket again, and we're at Wembley against Blackpool, and we're in the pub afterwards, and everyone was like, "Who's got tickets in?" So it was like, there's been about 10, 15 of us revolving that used to show up to games and everything else. And a mate of mine went, "John, have you got a ticket?" I said, "Yes." And he went, there was like this collective groan around the group that I had a ticket because my phone guide. So in the end, I said to my mate, back then you could only get one ticket. And so I said to him, "If I give you my ticket, will you take your son? I don't want you selling it. I don't want you to take any other idiots. You have to take your son." And his son was like 6. Because I lost out when I was a kid of going to the final and the FA Cup final and had to wait 26 years to go. And it's amazing that we got to the FA Cup final because I actually went to the semi-final when we won, which was amazing. And I couldn't believe it. And Marlon Hare was one of my favourite players. He beat the hoodoo of me being at a West Ham game when we ultimately had to win, and we did win. So I ended up giving my ticket to my friend who took his son, and they had a great day, and they won. So that's my record with finals. But to go back, my first real memory of West Ham was 80. And there's something, before we go any further, I have to get off my chest. The first time I walked into Upton Park, there were 12,500 people there, and I'm stood in the North Bank behind the goal. People are milling around amongst themselves, and this myth of this Upton Park atmosphere, I think a lot of it is overplayed because of the new stadium. I was there when there was hardly anyone there. It was depressing at times, and I can kid you not, it was a falling down stadium. The club was on its arse. You had a couple of all right players, and it never really went anywhere. And it's really, really strange to me being sat here talking to you guys now, 6,000 miles from home, nearly 38 years after walking into Upton Park, and there's 60,000 people at the Olympic Stadium, 3 miles from the original place, and there's a worldwide supporters group. It is very, very strange to me. Great, but odd. Yeah. It's very strange, but in a great way, and it warms my soul to actually sort of be on here. That's something I needed to get off my chest. You have to, I kind of like, every time I switch on Twitter during the game, I've got people from India, people from Ghana, Australia, all around America tweeting back, liking the tweet. And I just think it's just hilarious, but great.
It's funny you should mention that though, because I got the chance to go to the Berlin about 9 years ago, just one time. And Tim's been in the Olympic Stadium, so he has actually been over. And he knows Marlon Harewood, actually.
Very good, very good.
Yeah, but I feel, I try to be a little bit of a West Ham historian, not having the background, obviously, that you have or that a native would have. I've done some reading and I've watched a lot of videos and that sort of thing. And without being able to speak out from personal experience, I understand what you're saying. I think there's a lot of nostalgia. I think there are a lot of people who remember the days of the pitch invasions and the full stadium. But I think they've forgotten, as you said, 12,000 people milling around.
Mm.
But
it was
game,
the routine is
a lower league, a lower tier, first division game where it just wasn't interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of a strange dynamic back then. But when I was a kid, the routine was that we used to go to Aunt Wynn's house on Anne Road in Plaistow, and we'd have a cup of tea, and Aunt Wynn always used to say to me, "You better stuff them today, or you can't come back." I was like, "All right." So we get the bus, and then we go into the ground. I get my program, which was my pride and joy, and the first thing I was taught to do was read the manager's notes, and back then it was John Lyle. So I'd always, until this day, every time I get a program, the first thing I do is read the manager's notes. And to me, the manager is the club. Whoever manages the club is the most important person there. And in my opinion, they need to be respected. So even like when we had Glenn Roeder and Avram Grant, that guy's tactically got the team ready for the week. The result in the next 90 minutes is kind of irrelevant. I want to hear that guy's thoughts. And I've always done that since a very young age. Watch the game. Was behind the goal in the North Bank. And used to lean on these things like I'm leaning on the table now. And the goal was from here, I'd say, to my wall away.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
So, and, you'd have Phil... Sorry, my thumb's in the way there. You'd have Phil Parks was in goal when I first went. Marauding, biggest person I've ever seen up close, Phil Parks. Watch the game, you'd be bundled around. And my granddad used to tell me, if they score and everyone gets separated, I'll meet you at the gates outside.
Right.
And this used to happen week in, week out.
It was a crush. Right? Everybody switched forward.
Yeah. No one cared. And I knew after the game, if I'd lost my granddad, I'd just go and he'd be stood there by the gate. All right. And no one cared. It was all good. And then I was told what words to not repeat. And it was, I learned how to swear at a very young age. And I've always prided myself on my swearing skills. And
well, you'd have to.
But then what we'd do is we'd get home and we'd go stop at Fish and Chips, and then we'd watch the A-Team, and that would be my childhood, mid-80s, and then 85, 86 hit, and I'll never forget this for as long as I will live. We signed Frank McAvenny, my all-time favourite West Ham player, and he's there with his blonde perm. My granddad says, "Oh God, look at the state of him." So who's this? Oh, he's terrible. Look at it. I can't even do it.
And he signed from Celtic, didn't he? He's Scottish.
Yeah. He was signed from St Mirren.
Oh, St Mirren.
150 grand. It's like St Mirren's like the West Ham of Glasgow.
Right.
So he stopped off, and one of the reasons why he entertained signing for West Ham was they offered to pay his travel expenses down, and that meant he could go to Live Aid. So when you watch that Live Aid footage, Frank McAvenny is somewhere in the crowd on the pitch.
That's fantastic.
It's in the 85-86 book. It's kind of funny. And so then I remember we played it with the team had a chance to score, to actually do it. And it was always a long shot. And John Lyle came out onto the pitch and spoke just before the game about the season and what it would be like. And I distinctly remember him doing that, because the only time I can ever really remember a manager coming out onto the pitch to address the fans before the game. And obviously we didn't win the league and all the rest of it. And they're still banging on about it now, 30 odd years later. But it's that game signified, when I look now, where there was no one in the stadium in the first game, and they locked out 20,000 people for the last home game. And we had to pull a favour from someone to sneak into the turnstile. This is our sign of Wild West it was back then. And so can you still see me? It's getting dark.
Yeah, no, I can see you.
Yeah,
no, we can still see you.
Yeah, you're there.
I've got lights here I can turn on. But that's the way. Then that team broke up and we got relegated not so long afterwards.
Yep.
And it brings me to another. Because I said to you on Twitter that I'd give you the history of why we moved stadiums. So in 85, Liverpool. This is why West Ham supporters should hate Liverpool above anyone else. Forget Tottenham, forget Millwall.
Okay.
In 85, Liverpool rioted. And I'm sorry for the history lesson. They rioted against Juventus in the European Cup final.
And, that was the Heysel disaster, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that got the English teams banned from European competition.
Right.
So what happened was we finished third. We would have been in the UEFA, and as it was back then, the Europa that is now.
Yep.
And we didn't qualify for Europe because of it. And to me, that set us back years because the board would have invested in the team. We would have kept Frank McAvenny. We would have all of that anyway. So it
was the same with Everton. I think Everton finished second.
Correct. That's right. And Gary Lineker. Everton had an unbelievable team at the time.
Well, there are still, and I know I think it was somebody. It was one of the Romanians, like Stoia Bucharest, or somebody won the European Cup that next season.
Yeah.
And there are still Liverpool supporters who taunt Everton fans with signs and chants about Storia Bucharest because Everton were not eligible for Europe because Liverpool got already banned. So it's nasty. It's a savage thing to do.
So I've kept things from my strange events that happened over football. Now this is a program from West Ham against Southampton. Now if you can see the date, hang on. That is Hillsborough Disaster Day.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah.
And I will never forget this as long as I live. Now, back then, there was no phones or social media or Facebook, Twitter, or anything else. There was a dude behind us, and he always had this radio. And he fancied himself as a bit of a commentator, and he would shout out the scores as people scored. So if someone scored against Tottenham, there would be a little cheer going around from our section of the crowd. It was kind of funny. But then that day, we were obviously losing. And then all of a sudden, someone said, "What's the score from the FA Cup?" And he went, "Oh, there's been a riot. Liverpool again." So everyone's like, "Ooh, Liverpool." Yeah. So it wasn't until, I don't know, about half time that reports were getting back that there was something seriously wrong. Right. So Liam Brady equalised for West Ham. And I think this word had got around because usually it was an almighty bundle on the North Bank behind the goal when we scored. And that didn't happen because word had got around, people had been crushed on the terraces. No joke, there weren't enough people there at Upton Park to crush someone. You would need 2 people to crush someone, and there was barely 2 people.
Right.
So after the game, my granddad went, "Oh, yeah, basically something's happened." And we got home, it was very somber, there was no A-team, there was no fish and chips, and my mum hugged me as if I'd come home from the game. And that is the reason why we'd moved stadiums. It's nothing to do with anything. That was the reason, because everyone goes on about, the last game at the Bowl-In. That was the last game at the Bowl-In. That's West Ham against Southampton in 1994, and that was the last time you could stand up at a football game. And I've kept and I've been meaning to frame these since 1994. Yeah. And I got a certificate here signed by Billy Bonds, who was the team manager, that I was one of the last people to stand at Upton Park.
That's fantastic.
That's cool, man. Wow.
Yeah, it's really, really. I'm a very strange individual, and I keep strange various stuff. But I've been meaning to frame this stuff since 1994. So then what happened was that after that, all the grounds got redeveloped, and then there were some grounds that, if you look at, it's kind of an interesting thing. If you look at Derby County's Pride Park, Middlesbrough's Ayresome Park, there was another one, and Upton Park was one of them, where there were literally houses outside the ground.
Yeah.
So they couldn't knock it down and build because of the houses. And we had the block of flats behind us. We couldn't do anything about it, despite all this Twitter crap and all the rest of it. There's a reason why the East End couldn't be redeveloped. So we ended up Lego set in Upton Park. I remember paying this is another thing about this ticket. If you can see that, it says £9 for adults.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, the first game in the Bobby Moore Lower, where it was all seated, was Arsenal at home. It was £27 for the same crap team, losing against the same great Arsenal team. Ian Wright literally doing what he wants. Yeah.
It was 3 times as much.
Yeah. So no one bitched about that ticket hike. Nobody. They just accepted it, and it was weird. And so, whereas the big mistake everybody made, and hang on, let me just turn the light on. Hold on.
Sure. Oh, very nice.
That's better.
Very
I can
nice.
see it. I can see you now. So the mistake the teams made, and every team made this, is that they didn't do unreserved seating behind the goal.
Right.
And that's what the Italian teams do, and that's what preserves the atmosphere.
Yep.
So you got a Lazio over against Roma. Each team have got a season ticket to get in, but there's no reserved seating, so all the noise congregates in one place.
Yep.
West Ham, I'll never forget it. All the terracing had the noise behind the goal, but then what happened was the noise was all over the place, and it took, I'd say, at least 3 or 4 years for it to right itself, and it never really did. But that game in '85, Liverpool Juventus, is the reason we are at the Olympic Stadium right now, because you couldn't redevelop. I've seen plans of it all. There's a bus garage behind, a huge bus garage. You could not build out because of the road. You would literally cripple East London's transport artery to do it. And the board have taken some crap over it, but I think David Gold said in many, many things he was up for staying at Upton Park.
Right.
But I personally thought Upton Park was cursed. I thought the transport links were terrible. The pubs were too packed, and people get glassy-eyed over it. And it was great at times and everything. I had some wonderful times at Upton Park, but it was time to move. And I do think that the Olympic Stadium will be the place. I honestly do. But I'm in the minority of that. I know that, but I just kind
Give it time, though. Give it to, because John, if we start to win, if we start to have some success, and I know there's a lot that has to happen if that's going to happen, but if we get some investment, if some of these players we bought we come back from injury next season, we really are continuing to work next season, I think the atmosphere of the Olympic Stadium will only be as good as how successful the team is.
We need a trophy.
Yeah,
and the PR of West Ham has never changed. It's been terrible.
It's terrible. It's so bad. We talk about this a lot. Yeah, it's terrible.
I'm an anarchist. I hate West Ham as much as I love West Ham, and I held the original David Gold parody account on Twitter.
Oh, you did? That was you?
That was me. And I used to have untold fun with that. And I got a cease and desist from the club. And
oh, you're kidding?
Yeah. But what they didn't realise was I was behind a lot of the advertising revenue that went to the match day stuff on the side of the stadium. They didn't realise it was me, so they had to apologise. So I come to a truce with them, but
listen. I hate to cut you off. We got like 2 more minutes, and then
okay, no problem.
He's got to give up his studio. So anyway, finish your thought.
But that's the one thing about West Ham. Forget the team. Money buys the team these days. PR just needs to be better. But yeah, I mean, thanks for having me on, guys.
You're absolutely brilliant. I could do this for like another hour or two. Except I can't because I've got to go to bed too.
No, the point is we've discussed this with all of our guests, and we're definitely going to have you back.
Absolutely.
And there's going to be a point where we run out of supporters groups. Yeah. So we're going to bring back just former guests, West Ham fans in general that are in America, or even American West Ham fans that moved over to England as well. I got a couple of those.
I do know one, and But thanks for having me on, guys, and I mean this from an old school, miserable West Ham supporter. This does brighten my future of West Ham that this kind of thing is happening. So thanks for doing it. Thanks for taking the time and everything else. And it's a really good format. And anytime you want me on here, I am. So it's all good.
We're happy.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And just to let everybody know, we have a special Monday. We have 2 different episodes that we're going to be doing. We have Mike Manera from Hammers Chat. The guy who does Mike on Mondays. He's going to join us in the morning. And then in the afternoon, we have Holly Worthington from West Ham Way join us as well.
She follows me.
They're great. And Mike's funny too. So Sunday, so before that Sunday, we have St. Louis Hammers. We have a representative from over there. It's
Great American Soccer City, by the way. Huge legacy in St. Louis.
Huge support.
Goes back many years. Yep.
So it's not the gentleman from the American West Ham podcast. It's actually somebody else from St. Louis Hammers. The guy Brawley from American West Ham podcast, who they're trying to get Lee on.
I know.
We're going to have him on again
We'll do it.
down the road. Also, just so everybody knows, next Thursday, I think it's Thursday. Yeah, we have Sean from New York City Hammers is actually going to join us. There was he had to go to work the last time we were supposed to have him on, but we had Jake on instead. But anyway, Sean's going to join us on Thursday. So we get a lot of good stuff coming up.
He's got a reputation, so we'll see how it goes. I'm trying to get Wayne from Crossed Hammers to join us. That guy's a nut. You guys ever watch Crossed Hammers videos, man? I'd love to have Nick on too, but we're trying with that as well. But basically, we just want to get as many guys from over there on, as well as the American guests, and obviously like Wayne from Dallas, who says hi, by the way. Wayne from Dallas said to say hi to you. Hey Wayne, how you doing, buddy? I like Wayne.
Yeah, and all of our guests as well, and the people that join us in the live chat, listen, we really appreciate it. So please keep spreading the word. Please, if you have not been on the show, you would like to be on the show, please email us, AmericanHammersTV@gmail.com, and please subscribe and like and do a lot of good stuff.
John,
anything else?
Thank you again. Fantastic. I really appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much.
Cheers, America.
On your
See you again. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.